Hello all. So I'm going to discuss a few 5th edition updates and a few molecular genetics in melanoma. 5th edition WHO of skin. So there are a few melanomas which arise from congenital nevi and some of those which arise from acquired nevi. So it's important to note that the ones which arise from acquired nevi have a BRAF mutation and the ones which arise from congenital nevi have NRAS mutation. And when these when these progress to melanoma, usually the acquired nevi, they are a superficial spreading type of melanoma. We know that superficial spreading type of melanomas, they have a predominantly radial growth phase. Okay. And then when arising from congenital nevi, they usually are nodular melanomas. And the melanomas which arise from Spitz nevi, they have a HRAS mutation. From blue nevi, usually have a GNAP mutation. And epithelioid Spitz nevi, they have a BAP1 mutation. And usually KIT mutation containing melanomas such as the acral melanomas and mucosal melanomas, these usually do not have a nevus precursors because these are either mucosal side melanomas or acral melanomas which arise from the extremities. Okay. So these are the 4 types of melanomas: the superficial spreading melanoma, the nodular melanoma, the lentigo-maligna type of melanoma, and the acral lentiginous type of melanoma. So superficial spreading type of melanoma usually has a radial growth phase. Radial growth phase is something where the melanoma cells are usually progress in a horizontal manner rather than a vertical manner, and you will see most of these cells are in the dermal location, or maybe they are in the epidermis. They may have pagetoid appearance and all these things, but usually they do not have a vertical depth. The depth is very low. So the depth of melanomas are directly in correlation with metastasis. So that is why depth of invasion is essential, and these have a pretty much better prognosis. Nodular melanomas, as we saw, develop from the congenital nevi. So these usually do not have any radial growth phase. They have a vertical growth phase, and they are usually not so good. They're not their prognosis is not good compared to superficial spreading type of melanomas. And then the lentigo-maligna type of melanoma, they always have a growth phase, and they are always associated with the increased sun damage. We'll see more about the sun damage in melanoma also. They're associated with increased sun damage. Okay. And then acral lentiginous melanoma, acral site melanoma, they usually do not have any sun damage associated, and always radial phase is also seen in these type of melanoma. So most common among these is the superficial spreading type of melanoma, which arise from the nevi, acquired nevi. So now we'll see the molecular genetics. In cutaneous melanomas, most common mutation is BRAF mutation. However, cutaneous melanomas also can be classified recently, according to WHO, into low cumulative sun damage type of melanomas and high cumulative sun damage type of melanomas. Even though together BRAF mutation are more common in cutaneous melanomas, followed by NRAS mutation, followed by c-KIT mutation. c-KIT mutation is very much uncommon in cutaneous melanomas. However, they are more common in mucosal melanomas as compared to cutaneous melanomas. So here are the sun exposure types we talked about. The chronic sun exposure, that is high cumulative sun damage. So cumulative sun damage, we know that UV, there are 3 types of UV rays: UVA, UVB and UVC, out of which UVB is the most carcinogenic one, and it's implicated in increased mutations. So whenever there is high cumulative sun damage, it correlates with a high tumor burden score also. High tumor burden score and high number of mutations. So when there is high chronic sun damage, BRAF mutations are rarely involved. Okay. So chronic sun exposure, as we saw, is associated with high chronic sun exposure is associated with melanoma such as the lentigo maligna type of melanoma, high chronic sun exposure. And intermittent sun exposure is associated with superficial and nodular. Nodular can be further divided into high CSD nodular and low CSD nodular. So both the nodular can also be further divided into these types. So in intermediate sun exposure type of melanoma, that is a low CST type, where you can see that BRAF mutations are frequently common in low CST type, where superficial is the most common in low CST types of melanoma when there is low sun exposure. Okay, and they have multiple melanocytic nevi, multiple acquired melanocytic nevi can be seen. Rarely, next common mutation is RAS mutation, and then rarely other mutations can also be identified. So these are examples of high CSD melanomas. Okay, lentigo-maligna being the most common of high CSD melanomas, and then high CSD nodular melanoma. As I mentioned, that nodular melanomas can be high CSD as well as low CSD. Okay, and then low CSD melanoma, the most common being superficial spreading type of melanoma. Some of these melanomas are not associated with sun exposure. That is, they are associated with they occur in sun shielded sites. Examples of these are the mucosal melanomas, the acral melanomas, including nodular melanomas in acral skin, tumors arising from the spitz nevi, malignant tumors, malignant melanomas arising from the spitz nevi, and melanoma arising from the congenital nevus, blue nevus, and also uveal melanoma. So these arise in the sun shielded sites, and these usually have very low tumor mutational burden. Mucosal melanomas, as we already saw, in contrast to cutaneous melanomas, where BRAF was the most commonly mutated gene, in mucosal melanomas, there are a few other genes which are common. We have KIT genes which are commonly mutated, and then there are RAS which are commonly mutated in mucosal melanomas. Apart from that, CDKN2A pathway and the CDK4. So these are also some of the genes which are mutated. And the color which you can see here, the red color are oncogenes, so they are activated. Okay, so oncogenes are usually activated, whereas the blue color which you can see here are the tumor suppressor genes, and they are deactivated. So that is why this is color coded in such a way. So third promoter gene activation can also be identified in these tumors. Okay. And then coming to uveal melanomas have a completely distinct genomic pattern compared to mucosal and cutaneous melanomas. So these melanomas, they harbor mutation in either GNAC or GNA11. So almost 90% of cases harbor mutations in G protein associated proteins such as the GNAC and the G11 protein. Okay, so these activate G protein coupled receptors, which in turn may activate the downstream pathways. Okay, so BAP1 mutation can also be seen in a certain cases. Now we'll try and solve a few MCQs over here. Which subtype of melanoma is commonly associated with low cumulative sun damage? I'll just give you a moment. Okay, so low cumulative sun damage, the most common melanoma associated is superficial spreading type of melanoma. And with high cumulative sun damage, the most common type of melanoma associated is the lentigo-maligna type of melanoma. Coming to the next one, which of these statements about low cumulative sun damage melanomas is true? Okay, so again, I will just give you a moment over here. So low cumulative sun damaged melanomas commonly occur in the head and neck. Is it true or false? Have a higher frequency of BRAF mutations, okay, or do they have a higher rate of UV-induced mutations, or do they frequently harbor KIT mutations? So we know KIT mutations are frequently seen in mucosal melanomas compared to cutaneous melanomas. Okay, low CST melanomas have low tumor mutational burden. So this is also not true. Commonly occur in the head and neck. Low CST melanomas usually occur throughout the body, and they can occur usually in sun exposed sites and also in the extremities in the back. Okay, so not exactly in the head and neck. So the correct answer here is they have high frequency of BRAF mutations. So this is the correct answer. Most common type of low CST is superficial spreading type of melanoma, and frequently occurring mutation in low CST melanoma is BRAF mutation. Okay, and they usually have low tumor burden, and KIT mutations are frequent in mucosal melanomas. So that much for the updates. You can follow our YouTube and Instagram and also our website. So thank you so much.